Very good Sunday morning to you. Coming in a little bit later than normal, up late, handicapping the Kentucky Derby post position draw. And I have to say, this was the first year in a long time where I wasn't watching the draw live. We had some family stuff going on, and I wasn't particularly tuned in yesterday evening. And my brother was texting me, boom, 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 20 something odd text messages, one right after another. And um, interesting draw. I think whoever um, who won the post position draw, everybody who gets super excited about inside speed. Who lost the draw? Perhaps Bob Baffert and Citizen Bull. We'll see how the race shakes out on Saturday, but Citizen Bull drawing down inside on the rail when it seemed like uh, Bob Baffert was training him with the intent of having him rate in the race. That game plan kind of goes out the window now, and you just have to be um, you have to be on the pedal from the one hole, and um, kind of shakes up a little bit of the pace dynamics, I think. But let's dive in here. Sunday morning coffee on Big Race Jim. You're watching Past the Wire TV, brought to you by Shore Bet Coffee. Cheers. And AmWager, thanks as always. We've been doing this for close to 3 months now, and we're this is it, right? This is the time of year that we love to um, we love to be involved in this great game, right? I was texting some of my friends who I do a derby group bet with. We haven't been super successful on the group bets since California Chrome. So there's a couple of different ways to look at that from a group bet standpoint. One, on the positive end, we are so due, baby. We are so due, and this is our year. Or we're just on an absolute cold streak that there's no end in sight. But I was texting them this week, just trying to round up a head count again, and just kind of saying, just kind of how much excitement there is in the air over these two the week leading into the Derby. These 2 weeks are just full of excitement and anticipation, and you just kind of feel like anything is possible, right? Your opinion is rock solid. Your horse that you're going to key is going to finish on top, or the horse that you're going to key in third is definitely going to finish in third, and you're going to walk away with all of the riches of the Kentucky Derby. So I'm excited. I don't know if you could tell. I'm excited. Hopefully you're excited. Let's take a look now at the post positions as they shook out yesterday with some morning line odds. And like I said, Citizen Bull probably the most unlucky here, I think. Um, and I was watching that show from a couple of weeks ago with John and Ed DeRosa and Keeneland Dan, with the Horse Racing Nation crew. And John was talking about Citizen Bull, right? And kind of how you have to respect the 2-year old champ, and perhaps landing in the one spot um, dulls that shine a little bit. Some of the other ones that stuck out to me here, I thought journalism is in an absolute perfect spot here. The 9 Burnham Square probably needs to be upgraded a little bit, in my view, with all of the speed to his inside. A couple other ones that I found interesting. Rodriguez in the 4 hole, I think, is fine. again, I think leading into this race, we've heard some comments from some people around this horse saying that, and I think not that I'm close to the horse, but I was one of the ones that had said that he doesn't need the lead, and he's shown that in some prior starts. Unlike the Wood where he took everybody gate to wire. I didn't really think that he necessarily needed to be on the lead here, but in that four spot, I think he will, be forwardly placed for sure. East Avenue. I was just talking to my dad before I ran upstairs here to record this, and he was going through the list, and I think jokingly, I don't know, it's tough to tell. Sometimes he goes, "Oh, there's too many horses around him. He's going to stumble out of the gate," and, and perhaps that might be true. East Avenue, I thought his bluegrass was super super impressive. We'll talk about him coming up here again in the next couple of minutes, but I thought his bluegrass was really good. And he really didn't deserve to get nipped at the wire there by Burnham Square, but he did ultimately. And I think this one is very interesting. He typically, as we've seen, likes to run at Keeneland. He's run his best races there, so it'll be interesting to see how he does at Churchill Downs. Another one that I thought was really good is this from a post position standpoint is this Cole Battle. And for whatever reason, over the last couple weeks, I just keep coming back to this horse and giving him a really, really, really close look. And I think 16 outside all the speed, outside of Owen Almighty, I think Cole Battle is the beneficiary of a solid post for his running style, and I'll be interested to see what he does in the race on Saturday. Is he my top win contender? No. But he is one horse that I do expect to run well and have a pretty decent showing. Sandman on the outside, we've all know that the 17 post is never won the Kentucky Derby. I try not to get too hung up on a lot of those goofy sort of historical things, right? I mean, every race is different, every year is different, different horses, different pace scenario, all sorts of different stuff going on. But if you like, if you like that angle, and you're going to toss, what I think will ultimately end up being the second choice in this race, based on that alone, um, kudos to you. I'm going to toss him for other reasons. Not just because he's in the 17 hole. Sovereignty, I think he's 18, not ideal. I think it's okay. Not ideal, but I think it's okay. And I'll have a show coming out in the next couple of days to explain why that is. I think this horse is super athletic. If you go back and watch the Florida Derby, um, I thought he displayed a lot of athleticism and had a nice run in that race. So he definitely needs to be completely respected here. Tappan Street to Pan Street, unfortunately, not running because of a fracture. So that's going to affect our price on Sovereignty. But again, 18 hole, not ideal, but I think it's okay. Owen Almighty, he's going to have to be on the gas from 20, given his running style, and that's a tough spot to be in for him for sure. So, what are we going to talk about today? A couple weeks ago, we did my top 5 or 6 Kentucky Derby win contenders. Uh, a little bit's changed, and I'll give my picks out later on this week as we get closer. A little bit's changed there. Last week we did the top 5 or 6 board hitters. So today we're going to do our top 5 or 6 Kentucky Derby long shots through the eyes of Big Race Jim. And here it is. these are in no particular order. These are just as I was looking at PPs this morning and just threw them up on this graphic. So don't read into this all that much. And I was kind of thinking too, like what is a long shot, right? Is it double digit odds or more in the Derby when you're going to have half the field at, probably 20 to 1 or more? Is that considered a long shot? Um, I just went with the horses that will be double digit odds or more, and that's where I landed with my officially unofficial decision on what makes a long shot. So Burnham Square, 12 to 1, like I said, going through the post there. I think you have to upgrade him in the 9 hole, all the speeds to his inside. I think he's gonna have a great spot there. Um, and be able to settle in and make a nice run like we saw in the bluegrass. Again, I think I'm a big Brisnet player. So when you're looking for horses that you think are going to run really well, I tend to look, especially in the Derby, I tend to look at those horses that are going to come from off the pace. And in the bluegrass, he was probably a little bit uh, further back than he probably wanted to be, but they were moving pretty good up front. East Avenue was going. It was 46-4, 111-4, so they were moving. And one of the things that I like in the Brisnets is it gives you how this race and where this horse was positioned relative to the pace of the race. So if you're a Brisnet player and you're looking just past their running line, the E1, E2, LP, you have the 1C and 2C. So that in the bluegrass, the 1C was plus 13. So how I interpret that is that this race was way faster early than normal. And 2C, the second call, the race was a plus 10, which means it was way faster than normal later in the race. And he was able to run everybody down and get East Avenue at the wire. And I think that post position, number 9, kind of bumps him up here, and puts him in a good spot. Now, um, the next one I had on the list was East Avenue. And prior to um, the post position draw, I was again looking at this course very closely. Was he not? I'm gonna look real quick. I think he was the favorite in that um, in the juvenile last year. He was. He absolutely was. Came back in the Risen Star, and they said that he didn't really like that track whatsoever, and that very well may be true. Um, and then he came back at Keeneland in the bluegrass and ran that tough second, but I thought he ran a bang up race there, and I think he's going to be in a solid spot. Um, is he a top win candidate in my view? Probably not, but I do think that he's a horse like we've seen gets out in front early and has a good motor and is going to keep running. I don't see this horse kind of crumbling late like some of the other early speed that we see in the Derby. He has a bit more staying power, in my view, than some of these others, and I think that bluegrass was really indicative of that. And I'm going to lean on that race and probably use him. Um, in my exotics. Final Gambit, I spoke about him at length last week. Again, this horse is going to come from the clouds, and he's just going to keep running, keep running, keep running, keep running. And I think he is a definite long shot key, um, to fill out your trifectas and your superfectas. Rodriguez, like I've talked about, was pretty high on him coming out of that wood. He snuck up on me that day. I'll admit that. I did not have him leading that race throughout and popping a huge figure in that race. And I talked about this a couple weeks ago too. Looking at the Brisnets from the last couple of years, a lot of those New York prep races for the Oaks and the Derby, those figures have been a bit inflated in my view in the last couple of years. So um, I'm looking a little closer at Rodriguez for that fact alone. But I do think that he is a strong player in here, and at 12 to 1, I mean, yeah, that'll be a pretty nice price that we get on a horse that I do think has has as good a chance as several others to win here. Publisher, the maiden. Uh, I went back and watched the Arkansas Derby yesterday, and again, we know that they were they were absolutely flying in that race. Um, Looking at that pace relative to the average on Brisnet, first call was plus 28, second call um, was plus 20. So this horse again, kind of running through those fast early fractions, and really at the maybe at the eighth pole, you thought like, wow, this horse has a shot, and it looks like he's improving. Right, once he still hasn't broken his maiden, but once they put him in that Southwest, that effort was kind of meh. But then in the Rebel, something kind of clicked, and he ran a little bit better. And then in the Arkansas Derby, it clicked even more, and he ran a little bit better. So, do I think this horse is going to win? No, but at 20 to 1, I do think with his running style and all the early speed, well to his inside, I do think that this is one that we do need to consider to fill out the bottom of our um, exotic bets. Same with Colback. Uh, you know, like I said off the top here, I thought that post position for him is pretty ideal. And at 30 to 1, and a horse that kind of captured the hearts of many horse racing fans throughout the early parts of the Kentucky Derby prep season. His Arkansas Derby is not as bad. It's not bad. It's not even like the good word to use there. Um, that race is fine for him. I don't think that was any knock on him given the pace. He was up pretty close to that thing the whole way, and I think that was completely fine. And I'm pretty sure his trainer said that he wanted one extra workout into him, needed an extra workout to have him completely fit. So if we want to take him at his word, take him at face value, then that run looks even a little bit more impressive if he wasn't completely fit. So these are my top 5, 6 Kentucky Derby long shots that I'm definitely going to be taking a super close look at and using. On this list, Burnham Square, I think, win contender. Rodriguez, for sure, win contender. The others, I'll be looking at a lot closer to fill out some of the bottom parts of my exotics. And, you know, interesting enough, right? I get a lot of comments on these shows over the last couple of weeks. Where's Sandman? Where's Sandman? Where's Sandman? I don't like I don't like him, and I think he was the beneficiary of a ridiculous pace in the Arkansas Derby, and he was able to kind of clunk up there. No, I shouldn't say clunk up. I use that I use that term just to suggest that the horse was um, the beneficiary of a hot early pace. And I think in the I think in the Kentucky Derby, you need to be a little bit more professional than he did in that Arkansas Derby. Drifting in, he lugged in pretty bad. And to me, that suggests you're getting tired. And um, I don't know. I I just don't like him in this spot. Um, and good for him. He'll probably win now because I said that, and I'm happy to eat crow. But he won't be someone that I key on any of my tickets. And which is fine. I hope everybody else bets him with two fists, and we get a better price on some of the other ones that I like. But we're going to take a quick timeout, and then I'm going to come back in the last sip, and I have a plea for everyone as you get ready to map out your Kentucky Derby wagers. Stick with us.
Go.
All right, welcome back in. Quick reminder, the Kentucky Derby seminar is coming up on Wednesday. Um, you should really be there. Passthewire.com. Go reserve your spot. Here's the promo.
One of my favorite times of the year in horse racing, as it is with most people who love the sport of kings, is the weeks leading up to the Kentucky Oaks and the Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Derby weekend. The wagering opportunities are plentiful. There are always shots to take, and just as important, there are always horses to bet against, and some of them are going to be short prices. On the Kentucky Derby Past the Wire annual seminar, we go into all of this. Deep dive the Oaks, deep dive the Derby, and also look at key races on the Kentucky Derby card leading up to that ultimate test. 1.25 mile, 3-year-olds on the first Saturday in May. What we can do at the Derby seminar is help you be as prepared as possible. Share some shots that we are going to take and some key horses that we're going to bet against. Ticket strategies, wagering strategies, money management, speed figures, pace, projected trips. We cover it all. We get really into it, and we always have a great time, and we try and always put ourselves in position to do some serious shopping after the races. It takes a certain kind of horse, like it takes a certain kind of car, to win on those big days. We are going to seek them out, and if it works out, they'll never take us alive.
All right. So John and I have been working together long enough where he just sends me these clips and I know exactly what he's looking for and what the message is that he that he wants to get out there. So if you haven't reserved your seat yet, Wednesday, 6:30 Eastern, Kentucky Derby seminar, passthewire.com. Go grab your seat now. You don't want to miss out. All right, here we go with the last sip. So there's a ton of Kentucky Derby betting information out there, right? Who's looking good? Who's looking better? Who's looking the best? This pace strategy, that pace strategy. This horse is eating. This horse is eating more. The key that I've found over the last couple of years is to just ignore as much of that as you possibly can. And it's tough, right? It's super tough to consume all of this information, right? We want to be as informed as possible to structure our tickets, cash a big ticket, all of that, right? But we have to do our best to eliminate as much of that as possible and trust ourselves. We have to trust ourselves. And that point was confirmed for me earlier in the week as I'm looking through the Twitter, right? And you've got, two or so people that really handicap the workouts. And for a top contender, they had complete opposite views of everything. One person thought this horse was working great. The other person thought this horse didn't look so great. And sure, you can stay in one lane and you trust one guy over the other, or vice versa, and that's fine. But in my view, as we're trying to consume all of this information from a lot of other people, it gets kind of hairy when we are trying to make up our own mind. And I think if we just trust what we see, trust our process, trust our own numbers, trust ourselves, and let the chips fall where they may, I think that is the best way to approach the Kentucky Derby. Trust your eyes, trust what you see, wager accordingly. And if it happens, it happens. And if it doesn't happen, figure out maybe where you might have missed something, and we try again in a couple of days, couple of weeks, couple of months, the next year, whatever it may be. But you got to trust your own opinion on these big days. It gets too easy to get caught up in what everybody else is talking about. So trust your gut, trust your eyes, stick with your own opinion, and make it happen. All right. Good luck this week. Kentucky Derby seminar Wednesday, passthewire.com. Please reserve your seat and keep the comments flowing. You guys are entertaining as hell. Hopefully you're enjoying the shows. Thank you for watching, and good luck this week. Have fun. It's the most exciting week of the year in horse racing. So good luck, everybody. Sunday morning coffee with Big Race Jim on Pass the Wire TV. Thank you, Shore Bet Coffee. Thank you, AmWager. Good luck.